I'm going to talk about 10 single-player games that you should definitely play if you're looking for some single-player fun. In this list, I tried to include games that haven't been featured much on YouTube before so that you might discover something new beyond the obvious big AAA games that most of you may already know about. And if you want to see a continuation of this list, let's get 10 likes here. Mad Max is a game that deserves more recognition, especially considering it was released on the same day as Metal Gear Solid 5, which overshadowed it significantly. Despite the general skepticism towards movie tie-in games, Mad Max is not really tied directly to Fury Road, but rather stands as a fresh interpretation of the iconic character. On the surface, Mad Max might seem like a formulaic, open-world action-adventure game. However, once you dive deeper, you'll find a rich and engaging experience. The car combat is not only fun, but also unique and interesting. The game features a solid upgrade progression system for both armor and vehicles, encouraging players to explore the desolate post-apocalyptic world they've built. The game's world feels lonely, desolate, and authentically post-apocalyptic, capturing the essence of the Mad Max universe perfectly. The combat system, inspired by the Arkham series, involves satisfying hand-to-hand combat where you can brutally take down enemies. Mad Max provides a definitive video game experience for fans of the franchise. Despite being underrated and not discussed enough, it offers a compelling gameplay loop that combines exploration, combat, and vehicle upgrades in a beautifully crafted post-apocalyptic setting. If you haven't played it yet, Mad Max is definitely worth checking out for a thrilling, action-packed adventure. Gears of War 3 blends an engaging story with its action-packed cover shooting gameplay, creating a high-octane experience that's difficult to put down. Released in 2011, this game was intended to conclude the original trilogy, and the developers ensured it ended in style. This entry boasts some of the best firefights in the series, making it incredibly addictive once you get the hang of it. The game's campaign features a strong emotional core, with characters facing insurmountable odds and personal losses. The multiplayer mode, especially the Horde mode, is a blast, offering endless waves of enemies that test your teamwork and strategy skills. If you're a fan of intense action and gripping narratives, Gears of War 3 is a must-play. This War of Mine offers an intense and emotional experience. In this game, you manage a group of survivors in the aftermath of a war, making difficult decisions about who to feed, who to save, and how to manage scarce resources. The game is bleak and often depressing, providing a compelling look at the devastating effects of war beyond the explosions and gunfire. It's not just about the chaos of conflict, but the grim reality faced by those left in its wake. If you enjoy games that require tough decision-making, like Frostpunk, then this War of Mine is a must-play. The game delves into the human side of war, focusing on the survival and suffering of civilians. The heavy themes and challenging choices make it a unique and thought-provoking experience. It's a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict, making it an emotionally impactful game. Next up, we're shifting gears a bit to talk about Night in the Woods. This isn't your typical action-packed game. Instead, it's a point-and-click adventure with a striking art style. If you enjoy games like Oxenfree or Life is Strange, Night in the Woods might be for you. It's a mystery and coming-of-age adventure set in a small, beautifully designed town filled with charming critter characters. These characters are remarkably human in their dialogue and interactions. As you explore the town, you learn about its residents, uncover your character's backstory, and get drawn into a compelling narrative. The game's strength lies in its atmosphere and storytelling, dealing with themes like mental health, identity, and the struggles of young adulthood. Despite its quality, it didn't get enough attention when it was released, so it's definitely worth checking out. Pacific Drive stands out as a truly unique survival game that takes players on an extraordinary road trip through a world teeming with anomalies and phenomena out in the wilderness. Unlike many survival games, there's no combat in Pacific Drive. Instead, your primary challenge is the environment itself, which is filled with unpredictable and dangerous anomalies. Playing Pacific Drive feels like stepping into the shoes of a mechanic in a post-apocalyptic version of Chernobyl. Your main tasks revolve around keeping your car in working order. You need to fix it, fuel it, and constantly search for spare parts, scraps, and other essential resources to ensure you can keep moving forward. While this type of gameplay might not appeal to everyone, Pacific Drive is incredibly immersive. The game creates a tense and atmospheric experience that draws you into its eerie, anomaly-ridden world. If you enjoy games that prioritize atmosphere and survival mechanics over combat, you'll likely find Pacific Drive to be an underrated gem that offers a refreshingly different take on the survival genre. If you're in the mood for a story-based game, consider As Dusk Falls. This game didn't make a huge splash when it was released, but it's a hidden gem. The game primarily uses static images and art, which might seem off-putting at first, but it boasts a strong narrative with branching storylines and impactful choices. If you enjoy games from Quantic Dream like Heavy Rain or Detroit Become Human, you'll likely appreciate As Dusk Falls. The game starts with a simple premise: a family road trip gone wrong. They get stranded and have to stop at a gas station, which then gets robbed, spiraling into a complex tale spanning different generations. The story is ambitious and engrossing, offering a unique take on interactive storytelling. Despite not getting much attention upon release, it's definitely worth considering. Call of Juarez Gunslinger stands out as a surprisingly entertaining entry in the Call of Juarez series. While the previous games in the series were decent but not particularly memorable, Gunslinger manages to blow expectations out of the water. This game is a first-person shooter that offers a fun, satisfying, and action-packed experience with an almost arcade feel. What makes Gunslinger truly shine is its dedication to the Wild West genre. The atmosphere is immersive, the visuals are impressive, and the action is thrilling. The game seems to genuinely care about delivering an authentic Wild West experience, which is reflected in its engaging gameplay and storyline. Above all, Call of Juarez Gunslinger excels in the fun department. The gameplay is incredibly enjoyable, making it a blast to shoot down cowboy bad guys. Despite its quality, the game still doesn't get the recognition it deserves. If you're a fan of the Wild West and love action-packed shooters, this game is definitely worth playing. Bulletstorm, crafted by the mind of Cliff Bleszinski, is a highly underrated gem. While some may have found the Gears of War series becoming a bit repetitive, Bulletstorm offers a refreshing departure with its focus on creative and over-the-top action. In Bulletstorm, you're thrust into a world where inventive kills are the name of the game. Armed with a variety of strange devices, you're encouraged to chain together as many kills as possible to rack up impressive combos. The environment is a health and safety nightmare designed to help you execute some of the most spectacular and gruesome kills. The game's story, a revenge tale that's often seen as cheesy and one-note, takes a backseat to the sheer enjoyment of the gameplay. Bulletstorm doesn't need a deep narrative to captivate its audience. Its high-octane action and unique mechanics are more than enough to keep players engaged. It's a crying shame that this title didn't find a larger audience. The excessive swearing aimed at appealing to edgy teens might have aged poorly, but the core gameplay loop remains highly entertaining. In an era where games like Hotline Miami and Angerfoot have found success with similar high-action concepts, Bulletstorm deserves to be recognized for its innovative approach. Despite its lack of widespread recognition, those who did play it know it was a riotous fun experience. It's unfortunate that many missed out on this thrilling game, but for those who gave it a chance, Bulletstorm remains a standout title. Years before Ninja Theory started controversy with their DMC reboot and then redeemed themselves with Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, they released an absolute gem of the PS3 and Xbox 360 era, Enslaved: Odyssey to the West. Unfortunately, only a handful of players actually experienced this underrated classic. Enslaved: Odyssey to the West is a loose adaptation of the legendary Chinese novel Journey to the West, set in a post-apocalyptic future Earth dominated by machines. Players control Monkey, a wild man who is compelled to team up with a woman named Trip to help her return home. While the premise may sound familiar, the game distinguishes itself with its lush, imaginative world, varied gameplay, and a standout performance by Andy Serkis as Monkey. One of the game's greatest strengths is its richly detailed and visually captivating game world. The environments are diverse and beautifully rendered, offering a compelling backdrop for the journey. The gameplay combines platforming, combat, and puzzle solving, ensuring that players are constantly engaged with new challenges and mechanics. Moreover, Enslaved benefits from its concise length, clocking in at around 8 hours in its focused single-player experience. There's no unnecessary multiplayer component shoehorned in, which might have contributed to its initial commercial failure. Darksiders is a game that stands out for its unique blend of action-adventure and hack-and-slash gameplay. Released in 2010, it was developed by Vigil Games and published by THQ. The game draws heavy inspiration from classic Zelda titles, combining exploration, puzzle solving, and combat in a post-apocalyptic world. Players take on the role of War, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, who is wrongly accused of bringing about the end of the world prematurely. The story is richly woven with themes from the apocalypse and mythology, and it features strikingly detailed environments that range from desolate wastelands to elaborate dungeons filled with challenging enemies and intricate puzzles. The art style, influenced by comic book artist Joe Madureira, gives the game a distinctive and appealing visual flair. Combat in Darksiders is robust and satisfying, with War wielding a massive sword and gaining access to various weapons and abilities as the game progresses. The puzzles are cleverly designed, often requiring players to think creatively and use War's abilities in novel ways. The blend of combat, exploration, and puzzle solving makes for a well-rounded and engaging experience that fans of action-adventure games should not miss. Let me remind you, 10 likes and I will continue this list on my channel. By the way, subscribe so you don't miss out.